I'm not here to just work. You can make all the money in the world and be miserable. I'm just going to live the life I want. I became much happier. My content was much better because I was happier.
Meet Liz, the dynamic co-founder of Real Estate Investing Women, a pioneering 7-figure business.
Specializing in empowering women through virtual real estate investing.
I could easily just ramp up my leads and close 15, 20 deals. That's not an issue. I have all the systems in place. Real estate investing is male dominated. I've had women where men patted their head and told them,
no hustle, worship here, we're a different breed. Action is what we got if action is what you need. Content capitalists, we're breaking the mold. Cause the old ways fading, new stories to be told. So content capitalists, get to the prize.
This is the Content Capitalist Podcast, and my name is Ken Okazaki. There are as many ways to make money with content as there are people doing it. So listen in as my clients, past, present, and future, unpack how they crack the code to making $1 million a year or more while capitalizing on their content. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Content Capitalist Podcast. Today I've got a guest with me, and what's cool is that we've met in Japan when her and her mother came and visited, and we also met multiple times on Zoom, and we've been working together on her mobile studio and things like that. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. What's cool about them is this is a mommy-daughter or mother-daughter duo, and today we've got Liz Klingseisen. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
you did.
And we're going to talk all about how they are running a 7-figure business off of what I would say, and I hope I'm getting this right, quite a modest social media presence and their content team. Liz, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you too. Liz, first of all, I think our audience would really appreciate getting kind of an overview of how you're helping these women in the real estate space and what kind of people you help. What kind of changes are you seeing happen as a result of their work with you?
Sure. So thanks for having me. My name is Liz. I'm co-founder of Real Estate Investing Women, or as we call REIW. I work alongside my mother, as Ken said. My mother has been investing. Her name is Laura Alamary, and she's been investing since 1987. So she's at 36 years, and I started investing 8 years ago. Now, what we did was about 11 years ago, she launched her own site, which was Laura Alamary. And when I came on board, she wanted to leave a legacy, and I was investing pretty heavily. I invest virtually, meaning that I do this from my home. And when COVID hit in 2020, that's when I officially came on board as a coach and the co-founder, because I was there for like the startup of it, but I officially started coaching in 2020 when COVID hit. So when COVID hit, what made us different and what made a lot of our students succeed was I was already doing my business virtual. So all of the students that were struggling to build a virtual business or were hesitant had to do it overnight. They were forced to. So we actually help women now. We are solely women-based. We used to coach men and women. We are solely women-based now, and we empower them to build their dream lifestyle via real estate investing. So we give them all the tips and tools and strategies. What has happened, what I've noticed is we have one of the highest success rates of students in the industry. And I think that is because, I know it's because we are really hands-on coaches. We're not even though it's like group coaching, we are constantly giving feedback, constantly coaching all day, doing a lot of lives, a lot of content, and a lot of mindset. And so when we talk real estate, we also infuse a lot of like mindset tactics and things that they deal with the common roadblocks. When you work with women, a lot of the roadblocks are very common of what's keeping them from success. So we actually handle that first, and then they get into real estate and they see success much faster.
Amazing. And when you're talking about investing in real estate, could you kind of give us an overview of what it means to do it virtually? Because for me, if I'm the first thing that comes to my mind when it comes to real estate investing, I'm thinking about actually going on site, having an inspector come and look at foundations. And I don't know what, I'm not in the game, obviously. What does it actually look like? How do people invest?
Sure. So you don't actually have to be there for a lot of that stuff. If you think about like CEOs, they don't physically do all the work, right? So they have other
Sometimes
people
it
that
feels
do
like
it.
it.
Yeah. No, trust me. Sometimes I get it too. But as far as this, like you can have other people do the work for you. So you have to find somebody that is in the area you want to invest. So I live in Southwest Florida, USA. I live in Southwest Florida, but my markets are more Midwest of the US. And so in the middle of the country. And so I have boots on the ground there that do the work for me. So I don't physically have to be there.
Mm,
And one of the things with the women I work with is they feel like they have to be there. And I said, okay, well, let's put it in this way. How often do you actually leave your desk to go do something in the field that someone else can't do? And they're like, you're right. I could do this completely virtual. So we teach them how to do that because you're not getting into real estate to pick up another job. A lot of people get into real estate for financial freedom. Well, in order to become financially free, you can't physically do everything. We use a good example of Jeff Bezos, right? Like he is the owner of Amazon. Do you think he's physically there packaging packages and answering all the customer service? No, you delegate it out. So it's the same thing in real estate. You delegate it out to where you only handle like the high up stuff or running your
mhm.
teams. Mhm.
Amazing. Now,
Yeah.
we're going to be talking a lot about how you're, engaging with your audience and your customers. But before we dive too deep into that, I have a feeling a few people listening to this are going to be like, hey, how do I get started investing? Because, that's already perking up in my ear. And I'm like thinking, like, well, I'm not a woman, but I've got a wife. So what's kind of like, do they have to be in the US, or is there a certain level that they should be expecting to be able to invest for it to make sense for them financially to work with you?
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of students outside of the US. We have some from the Netherlands, Canada, Europe. We've had people from Australia, South America. A lot of people actually, all we require for us is that you want to invest in the US. Because again, you can do this virtually. I actually closed deals while I was in Japan with you. I've closed deals, all over the country. I was in Italy last week, closed a deal while I was there. So you just have to be willing to invest in the US. And a lot of people prefer that because it's easier to invest there. And as crazy as it sounds, the economy is more stable there than in other countries. And honestly, we were talking to somebody that was in real estate in Italy last week, and she was raised in the US, and she's like, this is a mess here. And so what I recommend is we work with anybody that wants to work in the US, and then we help you set it up. Depending on the strategy you choose, more money may be up front, right? If you're doing fix and flip and owning rentals, then you have to put money down to do that. But if you're wholesaling, which is what I specialize in personally, you don't need a lot of your own money, but you do need a business entity here. And we put you in contact with someone that will help you open up a business entity and be able to work in the US.
Great.
Mhm.
And what are we talking about? Like $100,000 to like kind of be able to risk in these
It
ventures?
really it depends. I mean, I've had people start with as little to no money and just open up the entity and then go into wholesaling where you don't need your own money. You use the end buyer's funds or you use something
I've
called
heard of this.
transactional funding.
I think
Yes.
America is one of the only places where they allow these type of business structures. Like here in
Yes.
Japan, if you don't have like 30% of the value of the house, of the sales value, like in cash, like you're not even getting a meeting a lot of times.
Yeah,
So
so I got lucky. I started with no money. I was not doing well financially. So I started with no money and I made $9,300 on my first deal. And then I was able to exponentially grow. The average deal for wholesalers is 10K in the US. I've seen people, one of my coaches have made
mhm,
$112,000 on one deal doing it virtually. So
with no money,
people with no
just
money, you can do this with no money. And that's what people love about it. You may invest. What I recommend is investing in mentorship to limit the
mhm,
liabilities and risk, and
yes.
obviously to expedite your time
Mhm.
in it. But I have seen people start with no mentorship and nothing and make it, but you have to have that kind of grit to do that.
Yeah. Is
Mhm.
this this name comes to mind because I'm listening to a podcast of somebody else. Is this similar to what Pace Morby teaches in
Yeah,
his okay, perfect. I'm
it's
kind of getting an
very
idea now of what
similar.
you're talking about.
We all have our strategies and our way of
Yeah.
doing things. But yes, he's in the field of real estate mentorship as
And
well.
you know what's so cool though is, you could be teaching the same thing. I'm not saying you are, but you could be. And a lot of times a woman would rather pay and learn from you than to go to someone like Pace Morby. Different energy, different audience, different, speech patterns, different histories, different likeness. And that's what the beauty of content creation is the ability to connect with your tribe and give them just
Exactly.
your flavor of the same solution. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people get too hung up on, oh, somebody else is already doing that, and they don't get started. But it's just like, no, no, no. It's whatever because you're doing it now. It's your flavor.
Well, and in real estate investing and in coaching and mentorship, there are a lot of people out there that do both. And so, one of the things I tell my ladies, because they're like, yeah, but all these other investors are in this area too. Well, how are you different? What solutions are you going to provide that will separate you from all the other investors calling? And
Mm,
how do you show up? Because I have a lot of women mentors out there, right? A lot of women real estate mentors, big competitors. And people choose us because of how we show up versus them, and people will choose them because of how they
yeah.
show up. So like you said, we are all teaching basically the same thing, but it's this teaching style, who you are, the
Mm,
energy you give off, that really matters. And that's why women will gravitate to one or the other. And also I've had men choose us as women that asked us to coach them anyway because they trust us more as women to be coaching and showing up for
mm.
them. Mhm.
Yeah. How often does it happen where you advertise something or you publicly put out some content about these kind of, these strategies and results, and people start calling you a scam or, whatever all these things are, liar, a shill, because any claims of profits nowadays seems to be automatically attacked by someone. I have a feeling they were, burned at some point in their
Mhm.
life, or somebody they know was burned by a scammer or what they thought was a scam. Like, does that happen a lot when you talk about these kind of
Um,
results?
Not for me per se, but I think it's because I show up with a boundary that I'm not gonna tolerate that. Like, we have to deal with a lot of women that were burned by other mentorships, and I think what they have said, like, I had one woman come to me that was in tears. She had spent over 20K on another mentorship, and she was upset, and I told her, "Don't even sign up. Come to an event and get to know us, because once you get to know us, you will see, one, we're one of the very few gurus out there that still actively invest. A lot claim they do and they don't.
Mm,
And two is it really it responds to your energy. If you are coming through authentic, people learn to trust you. And
mm,
if you are not, they know. If you look like you don't know what you're talking about, you look like you're reading scripts, then yeah, it's a little untrustworthy. But if you just show up like you and me, and I'm like, hey, this is what you do, and this is how you solve it, and you bring it to their level of how to solve it, then they're like, okay, I get this. Because a lot of us, we forget that we were once a beginner, and what comes naturally to us doesn't come to them. And so I always make sure I bring it down to their level where they
mhm,
understand as a newbie or somebody that's learning something new, and then they see a lot more success. So I have maybe dealt with it a couple of times where people were like, this is a scam or anything. But honestly, it very rarely happens. I think it comes to that, if they does happen, it has no reflection on you as the mentor, but what they have gone through up to that point. And we just say, don't compare us to others when you don't know who we are just yet. Get to
mhm,
know us and you will see why we're different. Because we tell everyone, when we get into a room, we can sell. It's no problem. We can
mm.
sell, no problem, but we have to get the people in the room and we have to teach them to trust us. And that's why your content is really important that anyone puts out, because it teaches people that you know what you're talking about and they can trust you.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Your level of conviction just now, as you're saying all that, I it's it's coming through the camera all over the internet, over Riverside, the recordings, and I'm feeling it, and I can see why when people get near you and they spend a bit of time with you, they'll feel it too.
Mhm.
Tell me how is the balance? And I love how you said you're still actively investing, right? And you're
Yeah.
teaching it.
Yeah.
What's that balance look like as far as your revenue goes? You don't have to give me numbers, but like, is it more than 50% one way or the other?
Yeah, so I actually make way more money in real estate, but that's because I do it on a massive level. But I tell people I make all this money, but I have most of it delegated out. So
Mm.
the money
Are
comes
you a
in, but
systems person?
I am a systems person through and through. I have my business completely automated. I have a whole team of women. It's all women based that work under me on both sides, the coaching and because I want to empower women. So my real estate investing team is also women only. And
Mhm.
so we have this whole thing and they run it and I just take over meetings and the lives. Like I'm the face of REIW. So I do a lot of that kind of content. But my team runs everything. So, like I said with the Jeff Bezos comment, or I don't know how people feel about Trump, but he's in real estate. And when he was
Hmm.
presidency, he wasn't the one doing everything. It runs without you, and you just are there to fix like the ins and outs and the things that are falling apart. That's really where I show up.
That makes sense. And I love how you said you do it on a massive scale. Could you are there any numbers you're comfortable sharing about what does it mean to be doing it on a massive scale? Like how many deals are coming through, or what's the average
Sure.
size of a deal, or
Yeah.
what's that look like?
I don't go off of profit because profit changes all the time in real estate. I mean, one deal could be $1,000, one deal can be 111, right?
Hmm.
I go off of how many deals. So for me right now, I am averaging a minimum of 6 deals a month. I know people that are doing a lot more, but for me, just want to stay relevant in the business and understand what's going on. But coaching is my passion.
Hmm.
So I do the real estate, it funds my lifestyle. So it's a minimum of 60,000 months, which to some people it's a lot and to some people it's not. But I have it there, but like last month it was 12 deals that I closed.
Wow.
And so it really just depends on what's going on in the market and everything there. But I really invest, that's what got me into the life that I have, but it was my tool. Real estate to me is just a tool to do what I actually want to do, which is coach and empower women to change
Mm.
their lives. Because where I started when I got into investing, I share my story a lot during events that I do, like retreats and webinars, where I started with no money, no food, lost 50 pounds because I couldn't eat, mattresses on the floor to where I am now. I give that all to real estate. And so I teach other women to do the same thing, to get out of their situation, or even if their situation's not that dire, but to live the life they want to live. And real estate gives that tool, it gives that ability to do so.
Amazing. I really love all of this. What's there was something and that was said.
Mhm.
Alex Hormozy, he put out this formula, and it has to do with the perfect offer and the distance of time from when someone invests in you to when they get a result. What
Mhm.
is that looking like for you for when people get
Sure.
their first win?
So my
That spot.
average coaching clients, this is kind of hard because it's going to seem far off, but it's not. So the average is between month 2 and 3. But here's why. In real estate, you have to put 6 weeks out on your contract. So if you get a deal under contract in the first couple of weeks, it still takes up until month 2 to 3 to have that first
Hmm.
closing. So I'm seeing on average, like I had a lady the other day that posted in the group, I'm 32 days into my program, just put a deal under contract. So she's going to see her deal go to closing and see the cash during the month 3, right? Like one,
Yeah.
2, 3. My first deal came within 3 weeks, all the way to closing.
Wow.
It really depends on the situation. If is the house vacant, is the cash buyer ready to go? But
Hmm.
the average deal, because I always tell my ladies, you're joining, but be prepared that your deals are probably going to happen between month 2 and 3 because you have to give that time in the contract for the sellers to move, liens to clear out, and all of that before you can actually get the end buyer into the home.
Mm. I'm
Yeah.
asking all these questions about what you do because I am fascinated,
Thank you.
and for the listeners to know this, I am hand to heart gonna send my wife to one of whatever it is the introductory thing is and see if she's gonna get interested. If she's not interested, that's fine. But I have a feeling, well, I know I'm hoping she will be because it sounds pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
let's pivot into like the coaching side of your business. But
Sure.
before we do that, I have one final question.
Mhm.
Do you remember when you realized that you were a millionaire or were making $1 million run rate in your business? Do you remember that moment? And
Mhm.
could you walk us through that if you do?
Sure. So my when I realized what I was doing was 2021.
Mm.
Um I just, you kind of go through the motion and before you know it, you look back. In 2021, I was actually doing Taki's revenue stuff and it was for the coaching side. And I was like, well, let me apply it to the real estate side as well. And so I took it. And that's when I realized that I was well past 1 million a year because I had accrued a lot of debt the first few years trying to figure things out. And so that's when I was like, okay, like something's here. And then The feeling that I felt was like, "Holy crap, I did it." Like, everyone talks about making the $1,000,000 and how good it would feel, but it was like, okay, but it seems far-fetched when you're not there, when you're barely even making a couple thousand a month. And so when that happened, it was just like, wow. Like, it was in 2021, it was November. I remember it was November 2021, and I was like, "This is happening." Like, I've been making it, but I was realizing that my dreams and, like, what I was doing. And then as on the coaching business, when we hit that was, weirdly enough, I think it was November of 2022, we were doing our revenue, and we realized we made $1,000,000, and we were stuck at 400,000 for a really long time. And, we were like, "This is amazing." Like, it's a feeling that you just don't see, and then you're just ready for the next set, right? Like, okay, now we need to do multi-millions. So you get this like brief like excitement, and then you're like entrepreneurship, you're like instantly you want to level back up.
Thank you for that. So you've got
Yeah.
two businesses that are earning seven figures each.
Yeah.
Um, that's pretty sweet. And because you got great systems in place, they're both like thriving, I
Mhm.
believe. What do you think is the biggest, like the most important trait in you that has helped you to reach, no, to run two seven-figure businesses?
I'm relentless. I am a very stubborn person. And so when I get my mind on something, there's no turning back. It doesn't matter that I would go even a year. Like I have a video that my student or my assistant found where I said it took 2 years for someone to start commenting on my REIW post in
Wow.
the group. And
2 years.
um
So is that weekly posts or something?
I was posting, yeah, I mean, in the beginning, before I, like, started doing talky stuff, I was doing every couple of days, but it's hard
Wow.
to do something, right, when no one's showing up, but I believed in it, I knew that I could get it there, and so I just kept posting. My first deal, you know, the I say it took 3 weeks, but that's from the moment I had my epiphany. Um, I took 10 months to get to the epiphany. So but I knew, well enough that I was there, and I was just kind of, like, back and forth, and then the moment I had this, like, aha moment, this epiphany, this, like, "Liz, get over yourself,"
Hmm.
everything started flowing in. So for the content, it's the same thing. Is it's just I am relentless. I am relentless. If I want something, nothing's gonna stop me. I may have to tweak the like plan, the roadmap
Hmm.
I'm doing, but my end goal never changes. And so as long as I tell my ladies, as long as you believe in that wholeheartedly, you will never not see success because you just have to be relentless in what you're doing.
I can see
Mhm.
why you put so much priority on the mindset side of things because you've seen it in yourself, that relentlessness.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so let's talk about what you're doing right now as far as
Sure.
I believe that in broad terms there's two types of content. There's the stuff that's internal, like the people who already pay you. What are you doing for them? And then there's the stuff to bring more people
Yeah.
in, people who
Yeah.
may not know you that well yet. Let's talk
Mhm.
about the public facing stuff. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing so much. Okay, so I have social media contents going out 1 to 2 times a day. We have reels going out every single day. I do lives every Thursday. Did one today. Every Thursday consistently. So I have content going out. I have a really where our mass of our leads are from are actually from our Facebook group. It's not from our Instagram. It's not from our fan page. Our Facebook group. It has 16,000 women in it, and it is very active. It's very hard to keep up with sometimes, but it's very active, really good. I will say the one tip I give to anyone that is doing content is you have to be consistent. Every
Hmm.
single woman that ended up joining that followed us for a while said it's because I was consistent in what I was giving out. So I was consistently giving really good content every single day, showing up when I said I would, doing the things I say. We do podcasts, we do YouTube, we do all this stuff. But they said it was the consistency that I never let up, the relentlessness. I never let up in my consistency in providing good content.
Mm. So let's talk about the lives that you do
Mhm.
regularly. What are the topics? How long are these things? And
Sure.
what's kind of your strategy around creating that content?
Yeah, so we do what we call is a weekly client machine where it's one topic a week, and throughout every day it has like like Monday is mindset Mondays, Tuesday they can have a PDF. So it's something every single day that we do. But on Thursday it is the live on the content that we're focusing this week. So this like that week. So this week it was getting into real estate. What are the steps? And so all week we were putting out videos and content. And then on a live, we condensed it all into one area where they can go take the PDF from Tuesday, fill things out, and take their takeaways. And we do the topic. So it's just the topic. And then there's some kind of call to action. So like we are doing New York City next week. So that was our call to action. We've done
Hmm.
call to action, a webinar, scheduling a call, what have you. But your live is the most important one. You want to keep it consistent. You want to do it the same time every single week. And if you can't go live for like when we were last Thursday was Thanksgiving here in the US. So we weren't going to go live. So we had a pre-recorded video that launched at 11 a.m.
Hmm.
and we warned them that we weren't live. So that's the other thing is we tell them all week, hey, we're not going to be live due to what have you, but the video is still going to come out with content that helps you. And so they know at 11 a.m., they go right there and that's where we are. And the live covers the content that you're doing that week. And then you
Got
can
it.
also allow I always recommend letting them ask a few questions so they can see you know what you're talking about and it wasn't all like planned and scripted
Hmm.
for them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. And how much of your time is this taking you as what, including the preparation, the actual delivery, and anything else you have to do administratively?
It depends on what's going on that week. Because I'm the face of the company, I do a lot of videos, a lot of videos. And I do podcasts and all of that. And then for the longest time, I was also the assistant before I became the coach. And so I still do a lot of implementation by choice. I love what I do. So I would say like if I'm just speaking on like content and administration, I do about anywhere from 10 to 17ish hours a week, which isn't horrible considering the income. Um, and it's mostly videos and creating. I'm the creator. My mom and I are the creators of the content. We create our own content by choice. We have some people that help us do our social media, but like the PDFs and everything, that's our ideas. And someone will just put it into a PDF for us. But no one knows your business like you do. So if you're going to handle one thing, it's what content and information is going out to make sure that the people you're trying to speak to, the people you're trying to give this to, understands like who you are, your voice, and your brand. You can tell when I write something versus when
Hmm.
someone else does. And so understanding that, we took that on to make sure that our audience knows that it's us and that it's our voice and it's how we would want to be presented and represented as a company. So I would say anywhere from 10 to 17 hours, depending on what's going on that week, what kind of things are going on. Some weeks it's more. If we host a master class, which is 5 days, then my whole focus is there and I work probably 20,
Hmm.
25 hours because I'm going live every single day and I'm going live multiple times. So it just really depends. But I would say, if personally, my opinion, if you're going to handle anything in your business, especially when you get that high up to seven figures, it's what is going out that's reaching your audience. Because I don't just create, like you said, I don't create audio just for my audience that's not students. I also have trainings and content for my ladies that are in my community. And so that I write blogs and things like that for them
Hmm.
because I'm teaching them. And so these blogs are really, really step by step for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. Give me a bit more about what else you're doing. We got the live thing that takes a certain amount of your time. You talked about emails and podcasts.
Mhm.
Walk me through that.
Okay. So we have like the content that goes out, the lives. We do a lot of videos for those too, those weeks. So a lot of random videos that my team will send me and be like, hey, this is a really hot topic in the group. Do you want to do a video on this? So I do a lot of that. I also do a podcast once a week. We put out a podcast. We would like to do more, but we are afraid of getting a little too repetitive. So we're keeping it once a week right now. But every once in a while, we'll add a second one if we have a guest interview, things like that.
Hmm.
And then we do live events. So a lot of our content goes to streaming them into like getting them into a live event. That happens bi weekly. like clockwork. We do a workshop every other week, and then we'll do a master class or like a city event like New York City or our virtual retreats. Um, but yeah, it's just the emails go out every single day. There's an email every day that goes out. We have like our long nurture, which is like once they get into the system, that actually I'm completely revamping right now. And then we have, our daily content goes out. We have daily content every day that goes to our email list that's also in our social media.
Amazing. Now, so it sounds like you're pretty much covering all the bases, but it's all coming back to the group is where the concentration of your
Mhm.
culture happens. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah, so we have 2 groups, the student group and the public group,
Mm,
and all of it really leads into there. That's where we have the most interaction. That's where the women feel the sense of community. Like Facebook or Instagram and YouTube are amazing, don't get me wrong. I love them so much. They're really good for like the learning. But if you want to feel the community and what it's like to be in REIW community, that Facebook group is really vital because that's where they get to see other women helping, other women's success and stuff like that more than what we can just feature on our social media. And so that's where I actually get probably like 80% of my leads are through my Facebook group.
amazing.
Mhm.
I love how you are explaining everything so simply. And I think a lot of people, when they think about having to run all these different things, they feel like they're juggling 1,000 balls and
Yeah.
they're always dropping them. Um, but a couple things stood out to me that I wanted to dig into deeper. You said that every now and then someone on your team might send you a video and say, "Hey, could you make some content about this? This is trending."
Mhm.
Do you have like a system for researching this kind of stuff, or is it just like kind of random? People like, "Oh, I noticed this. I noticed that." The reason I'm asking is because some people do have a dedicated researcher who's actually trained on this, and they spend scheduled time to go and research what's trending. And some people don't. That's more intuitive. Tell me about your process around that.
So we believe in energy and intuition. And so no, we don't have somebody that just does that. My team is naturally in the group. And so or in chats, like they chat with people. And so they will send me like, hey, here's the struggles. This is, the week where it had the most interaction where people needed help. So they just kind of go off of what they feel the women need. And I do the same thing with my students. If I feel like we go in like droves of what we need. And so
Hmm.
we just leave it to tailor to them. Trying to predict what people need and what they actually need are two very different things. And so we just really just focus on just creating content with what the women need at the time, like the mass of the women. And then obviously we have like little side videos and stuff for the other things we're seeing. But no, I keep it very, and it may be more work, but I keep it a very just fluent to whatever's going on.
Got it. Got it.
Hmm.
When you're starting out, you told me that you had put out like over a year of content before you started getting engagement. Could
Two
you give us
years,
some
yeah.
2 years? That's yeah. I thought I remembered 2 years, but I didn't want to mistake that.
No, you're
Could you
okay.
give us some tips on if you're doing that again? What would you do differently so that you could shorten that length of time?
Showing up as me versus trying to post what I think they wanted to see. Every time I do something that I think they want, it doesn't work. Even like now, um, it's more of what they need, and so really reading into that. I would say honestly, it's just being more me and not trying to be everyone else in the field. I think we all fall guilty of that. They always say find what someone else is doing and mimic it and make it work for you. That doesn't work all the time.
Mm,
Sometimes you have to put your own flavor to things and you have to do that. And it's the second I started stop being like everyone else and I started being somebody that was just who was comfortable in her own skin doing this is when the comments started coming in. The other thing I'll give a tip, I don't tell a lot of people this, especially outside of Taki's program, but I'll give it to your podcasters is offer a reason for them to comment. So
mm,
we give raffles every single week and they're good raffles. You don't have to have a high budget. Ours is 75 to $100 a week. But once I started doing that, it went from a few comments here and there to consistent interaction. And the more they comment, because I say you have to comment, you can't like, you have to comment. Because the more you comment, the more it shows up in the news feed, it shows up everywhere
mm.
else. and their friends may see it, things like that. So it created a lot of engagement. But I will tell you what really changed was me just being who I was and showing up and being unapologetically who I was. So like I'm somebody that cusses. I'm somebody that believes in law of attraction. I'm a single mother. Like, so I just started stop apologizing and acting like somebody else. And they bust out laughing the minute I start cussing on stage or on a webinar. You see it in their faces because they're like, I can't believe she just did that. But it made them love me more because I wasn't scared to just be like this perfect businesswoman. I show up in flip flops, I show up in sneakers. It doesn't matter. Taki shows up barefoot. And it just shows that you just be who you are. And when you do that, your content, the right people will start commenting naturally. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. And I have to agree with you 100%. Tell me about the dynamic between you and your mom. Sometimes I see you, sometimes I
Yeah.
see you and her talking to each other. What's that got to do with well, first of all, there's the leadership in your business, and then there's also like the face of the company being shared with
Yeah.
two people sometimes.
Yeah, I would say it's really interesting. We get along really, really well. Um, and so when it was owner and assistant, it was very different. It wasn't overnight that I became like her right hand woman. I had to work my way up because she was the one with all the knowledge. She was the one that had ran multiple businesses and all that. And up until my divorce, I was a stay at home mom, just doing odds and ends things to make money, like selling, like, multi-level marketing stuff. And so what the dynamic is we have come to an understanding that we are in a workplace. And so we run it that way because there's a lot of times where I'm the one bossing her and telling her what I need done. And so it's come to this. I think if you're going to work with family, friends, you have to have this understanding because my best friend is my assistant and my sister is my video person. So learning when they come in, being like, hey, you are more than welcome to share anything friendship outside. But when it comes to work, this is the tiers, this is how it works. And with her, the other benefit that people love about us is we are mother daughter. So we banter on our workshops, anywhere we are, as if we are mother daughters. So,
Mm.
you know, they always say we need like a sitcom because once you get us together, we just feed off of each other. The other benefit is I'm more of like the millennial, the new tech lady and all that. She's more old school. So we balance each other as far as we attract different audiences because of the fact that we are different in ages, and we use that well. It's one of those you have to see it at an event to understand, but we
Hmm.
balance very well. And I would say if you're working with family to have boundaries on what to expect so that they can't cross those, because it can I've seen it like tear people apart. And we're an Italian family. We don't believe in that. So we were like, we have to set this up right to where that doesn't become an issue for us.
Mm. I love that. I'm actually my son works with me, and interesting enough, there's a lot of the same conversations that we've had. Even though he doesn't want to be on camera, he's just not that guy. He
Yeah.
runs the operations, and I'm the one that's got to be the face. So everybody finds their groove.
Yeah.
Um, Something comes to mind, and as you're talking about what you're doing with your mom and you working together and stuff, is it more like run by your energy in the moment? Because you're talking about energy, and then you're talking about systems, right? So tell me
Yeah.
a bit about that's water and oil we're talking about. Could you
Mhm.
go walk me through a bit of like your philosophy around business concerning that?
So you have to have systems and processes in place for any successful business. So we do that, but we do what feels good to us. So um, we Laura has an MBA in accounting, so she is very step by step. Whereas I'm like, I just do what needs to be done that time. And so I would say that when it comes to getting to the level that we are, you have to do what feels right to you, and you can delegate other things out. But I wouldn't say, I mean, yeah, we do what feels right, and we also hyper focus on one thing at a time. So right now what we're working on is our business structure with our team, making sure everything is completely delegated out. Well, that's our only focus for the next month.
Mm.
So you just have to find what needs the most work in your business and do that work and then focus on the next thing after. I actually got that tip from Alex Hermosi when he did a personalized Q&A with the group. Is he said work on the things that you don't really want to do and get that done and then do the next most important thing. And so that's kind of our philosophy as well. But then it kind of counteracts that. Well, you go off of energy too. Yes, I do. But there are things in your business you have to do to make it successful. And you have to realize that too. So it's all a mindset shift of being like, hey, I may not really want to do this, but I'm going to do it in a way that feels great to me. So, for example, like the weekly client machine that we do, which is every week is the content, is okay, what felt good to us? We were doing lives on Friday. That didn't work for us. We like to have Fridays off. So we moved it to Thursday. So we were still doing the same things. We just made
Mhm.
it work for our lifestyle.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
So are you saying that, and gasp, entrepreneur, you're actually building the business as a lifestyle business and not necessarily as like a high growth business as the priority?
Yeah, it's just like real estate. I could easily just ramp up my leads and close 15, 20 deals. That's not an issue. I have all the systems in place. But what matches my lifestyle? I'm not here to like just work. Like believe in like living a life you enjoy. I did the years where all I did was work and I didn't do anything I enjoyed. I never traveled and stuff like that, and I was miserable. So you can make all the money in the world and be miserable. So
Mhm.
instead, when I shifted it to I'm just going to live the life I want and I'm going to make my business go around that lifestyle, I became much happier. My content was much better because I was happier, right? And
Mhm.
so that's the same thing. You can make a lot more money when you're happier. And so that was where it went, and that's when the business started really growing, is because
Mm.
we became just easier at doing it. We made it work for our lifestyle.
Got it.
So work on Thursdays, have Fridays off.
Fridays off.
Yeah.
Um, are you running paid ads as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we are.
Could you give me, if as much as you're able to share publicly, kind of the
Sure.
link between when someone first hears about what you do or sees your face to when they become a customer? Like they see an ad, they get an opt-in, they get, an email or whatever. Could you kind of
Sure.
map that out so that my audience can visualize how this machine works?
Sure. So in our field, we have noticed it's anywhere from 90 to 100 days of nurturing, just because, like you said, there are a lot of scammers out there. There's a lot of gurus that don't stand by their word, that take your money and don't do anything with it. So we actually interview every single person that comes in our program, not just anyone can join. And so, not us personally, my team. So when they land on an ad, it's going to be either for an event we are doing or it's our ebook. If they go through the ebook, they go through a series of questions, and depending on what they answer is where they end up. So some may end up just going straight to the Facebook group, some might end up scheduling a call, things like that. We actually don't do the type where you join and then you pay like 27 for this upgrade and stuff like that. We found that it just didn't work with our audience. What they needed was nurturing. And so we would put them into an ad, like the ad would show up and then it would give them a series of what they needed to do next, but it was all freeways. The only time it may end up is if they're actually clicking on an ad for like a live event or something like a New York City that we have going on or a masterclass, but then that's in the picture. They already know it's going to cost them money. And so when they click on that, that's kind of the funnel. But then they get into our email system. That's the most important part. We don't really use ads like to get them into the event, it's to get them into our world.
Hmm.
Once they are in our world, then it's just a matter of time before they join. And that's how we have always felt. It's just a matter of time if we're consistently showing up that they'll join, and that is anywhere, what I've noticed is anywhere from 90 to 100 days is the average. We've had people join right away. I call them my impulse people. I love them dearly. But the others, it took time. They had to trust us. In our
Mm.
field, you have to trust us. There are a lot of people, which is very frustrating, but there's a lot of people that really mess it up for the ones that are actually out there doing good. And I'm sure in your field and everyone else, there's always those few people.
Yeah. So the email is really where you build that trust over time. Is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
And how often do you
Me and my
have
group.
like a testimonial or a call to action or just teaching something? Can you give us a little bit of an idea on that structure of your email marketing?
Sure. So our email, there's a call to action in every email, even if it's something small. Join our Facebook group, download a PDF, come to an event. There's
Mm,
always something you're I think people are afraid to use what their whole business is for. If someone gets in your email list, it's because they want to know about you. They want to know what you're doing and the content that you're giving. And so they expect that you're going to have some call to action. I mean, most people do. So I just always make sure there's something there, whether it's schedule a call, join our Facebook group, or here's an upcoming event. Always, because that's the whole point of you creating this email. Even my content based emails have some kind of like link to my group or something where
mhm,
they want to go and find out more. So the same for anything else you do. You always, the whole reason you're running all this strategy is for that call to action.
mm.
And so make sure you have something in there, even if it's small at the very end, that's like, hey, join my group, schedule a call if you want to know more, you want to get to know us, you want to, start building your business plan, things like that. There's something in every single email you get from us will have a call to action.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Mhm.
And are these emails, is this like a sequence of emails that's automatically dripped out since they come in, or do they just get put onto the regular email that's being generated every week or so? Like,
A
is it
mix or both.
mix of both? Okay.
Yeah, so we have like what we call our long nurture, where once they get in, it's a series of emails they get. But then they also get added into that. So sometimes they'll get 2 emails a day, but they'll say we get a lot of emails, but they also don't complain about it because they're
Mm,
like it's content in there. So the second email they may get is purely content related. And so they get both once they join. And they love it because it's all good stuff. I make sure that it's eye catching because I went to school for internet marketing as well. So like my marketing's my love. And so we make sure it's eye catching, it's content they need to hear or want to know, and not
mhm.
like again what you think they need, what they actually do need, what's going on in the market, is there a market crash coming up,
Yeah.
stuff like that. If there is, how do you recover from it, things like that, where we teach them every single day of the week.
Mm.
We have a good open rate, so
Yeah,
yeah.
amazing. I'm supposed to be good at marketing, but I only ever started sending emails out about a month ago, right before this Black Friday thing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try this email thing because I'm sitting on, several thousand emails over the years. I'm just like, I don't know what to do with this. And I was so surprised at how many people wrote back and said, I love your emails. I'm just like, what? You actually like getting emails? Because I don't like getting emails myself. So maybe it was just a reflection of my personality. And I thought everybody was like me. And apparently some people actually appreciate emails. So that was
Well,
a surprise to me.
it's just like I prefer written content, but most of your demographic prefers video.
Hmm.
And so it's like I have to remember that it's not always what I think they're going to
Yeah.
like and what I would like as a consumer. It's what they want. And
Lesson
so
learned.
when you
Yeah.
start putting out that kind of stuff, you're like, okay, I got it now. Like I messed up. Yeah.
Liz, how important was it for you to segment your audience to women only? And how do you think it would have gone if you didn't?
I think it still would have went well the other way too. We attracted a lot of men as well. But what we were seeing, I'll remember the moment I knew we had to go women only was we were at events in real estate investing. Men, it's male dominated.
Liz,
Very,
sorry, I think
very
your mic is kind of the position shifted or something. Oh, there we are.
good. Good.
Yeah. Could you
Okay.
just rewind a little bit to when you answered my question? Sorry about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I'll remember I know the moment that I realized we had to go women only because real estate investing is male dominated.
Hmm.
It is. And so I was the assistant and we were at an event and it was a real estate investing conference in California. And my mom was the only one on stage out of all the men, all the only female on stage. And as we would talk to women in the audience, they were saying that it's intimidating to be around the men. And like I've had women where men patted their head and told them to go sit down and things like this. Stories that I have heard. I know I wish someone would, but like the stories that I've heard of it. And so the moment that I saw that and saw her standing up there and all these men, I was like, there's a need here. And so we started slowly catering. That's when we launched REIW, started slowly shifting over to the women based. When we went fully women, it was about, I want to say 2 years ago. It was just, it became that it was more women joining the men. We started putting all our efforts into attracting the women and having them come in. And every single woman says the reason they join is they like that it's women only. They feel safe to share what they need
Mm,
to go through without people rolling their eyes or, putting them down for feeling the way they feel. And
mm,
so that became a safe space, and it just grew more and more off of referrals and marketing because people felt safe to be in that group, and they weren't intimidated by all these men trying to come in. And we have male coaches. We have two. They're phenomenal, but they're attracted more to that women based.
yeah.
And it became a niche. It was a niche that needed to happen because at that time there were no women mentors. There are more now. And so it became a niche that needed to happen.
That makes so much sense. And I go to a gym. So, Anytime Fitness is all over the world. I love it because I could go anywhere in the world. I could use my
Yeah.
membership. But my wife was going to another gym, but then she switched recently to a gym called Curves, which I think you guys have in the States, right?
Yeah, we
And
have
it's
curves.
women only, strictly. And she was just like, I
Yep.
love this gym so much. It's all women. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, because I couldn't care less if I go to a gym, if it's all men or if it's mixed. But, like the sensitivity you have to your market is so important. Like the stuff I don't notice, like what I don't know is what a woman's feeling inside when she's in the gym. I don't know. All I
Mhm.
see is her working out and I'm working out, right? But your acuity, because, well, partly because you're a woman, of course, and also because you're great at marketing, obviously, uh, and
Thank you.
making this decision, which for a lot of people would feel like we are ignoring half of our potential customers to, hey, we're running two multi-million-dollar businesses. We're doing something right. So, I think that it was a brave move, and I think
Mhm.
that I think a lot of us entrepreneurs could afford to make more brave moves like that to just say no. We are saying no to the larger segment of the market and absolutely half of the people on Earth.
Well, I can tell you this, we made more money when we moved to women than when we were men and women because
Mm,
we created a community that was niched enough for women to feel safe to come in.
yeah.
And and so we've actually made way more money being women based than before. And so
Mm,
I think that does come to show, again, everyone's different, but for us it wasn't about the money, it was creating somewhere for people to be. And then
mm.
it just, build it and they come. So you built it and then they started showing up in bigger droves because of it.
Thank you so much. I've got to
Mhm.
wrap this up in a second.
Yeah.
Before I do, we've got a bunch of people in my audience who are coaches, agency owners, mostly business owners, and they're trying to figure out how to do better with their content. Do you have anything you'd like to share with them directly if they're not really creating content consistently yet for whatever reason? It might be because they don't know what to talk about, they're nervous in front of the camera, they don't have the right gear. I don't know what it is, or they don't see the need for it. Like, is there anything you want to
Yeah.
say to that person?
I actually did a post not too long ago of how I used to be fearful of podcasts, and interviewing people because it's terrifying. It's something new. And I tell my students this too, the only way you're going to get better at it is just by doing and trial and error. So, what I would recommend as far as content is finding what speaks most to you that makes you comfortable, do a lot of that, and add in a little bit of what makes you not comfortable. Because, like, now I can do podcasts and it's not an issue, but it took that time to doing it and being consistent. No matter what, show up. So on Thursdays, show up on the live no matter how you feel. You are going to feel dumber than you actually are coming off is what I say, because I'm
Mm,
always like, "Oh, that was horrible. Like I shouldn't have said that." And my team was like, "That was amazing. Like that was your best one yet." And I was like, "What?" And so when I learned that and I had people giving me that kind of feedback, I stopped worrying about how I sounded, how I looked. I mean, I've showed up looking a mess. They don't care. Actually, they love it more when you look messed up, as bad as it sounds. And just doing that consistent work no matter what. The only way you're going to get good at it is by doing it. So I would say have consistent emails going out, consistent content, start posting every single day. And then consistently do a live. We actually got that from another person. They were like, I always go live at this time. Some do every day. I don't want to do that. I don't want that kind of commitment. Remember, a lifestyle business. So I did once a week. I knew I could commit to that. And so I show up live to that every single week without fail. And just that's what I would tell you is just do it. Just do the work you don't want to do, because that's where your success is in the work you don't really want to do.
Mm, I
Mhm.
love it. Thank you so much, Liz.
Yeah.
Guys, if you want to find out more about working with Liz, whether it's going to be through just checking out her, her social media to see what she's doing right, or actually getting into her communities, Liz, would you tell us the best place for people to get to know you better?
If you really want to get to know me, join our Facebook group, Real Estate Investing Women. If it's more on a coaching level, just find me on Facebook. It's Liz Klingseisen. And you can just add me and say you came from Ken's podcast, and I will more than happily help you out where you need to go. But realestateinvestingwomen.com is my website. That's also our Facebook, not for women. It says Real Estate Investing Women. And just get into the world and you'll love it. It's just a really good community of really supportive women.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Liz. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I was so glad that I invited you on the show.
Thank you.
There are some, well, let's just say that I really enjoyed this. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but this was a lot of fun for me. Guys, please do check out the links down below. If you're on the podcast, they will be in the show notes. And if you're on YouTube, check out the links in the description. Otherwise, I will see you again next week.
No hustle worship here, we're a different breed. Action is what we got if action is what you need. Content capitalist, we're breaking the mold. Cause the old ways fading, new stories to be told. So content capitalist, get to the prize.